You probably ripped it out, or your parents did sometime in the 80s without much ceremony. The sunburst clock on every wall, the avocado green appliances, the wallpaper that covered every room, floor to ceiling. At the time, nobody called it a trend. It was just home. And now your grandchildren are paying $1,000 to get it back. Every house had one. You did not buy it because you needed to know the time. You bought it because the wall looked empty without it. The sunburst clock came in gold, in bronze, and in shades that had no name, and the spikes radiated outward, like something between a compass and a small explosion. By 1972, it was the single most produced decorative object in American home manufacturing. Not a painting, not a mirror, a clock. Families hung them in living rooms, in hallways, above the fireplace, sometimes in the kitchen, just because there was space. They did not need to coordinate with anything. They were the room. And then one day, they were gone, replaced by digital displays on microwaves and cable boxes and eventually every screen in the house. But the wall where that clock hung, you still know exactly which wall it was. And if you remember that clock on the wall, wait until we get to what was happening in the kitchen. It started with the refrigerator. Someone at a design conference in 1968 decided that white was too cold, too clinical, too much like a hospital. So they introduced avocado green, then harvest gold, then a color called copper tone that was exactly what it sounds like. Within 3 years, American kitchens had been repainted from the inside out. The stove matched the refrigerator, the dishwasher matched the range hood. If you grew up in a 70s kitchen, you did not see a color palette. You saw breakfast, homework, dinner, and the whole architecture of a day. The colors were so saturated, so specific, that when manufacturers tried to discontinue them in the early 80s, customers complained. They had built their lives around that shade of green. It was not a trend to them. It was a whole decade of mornings. But the appliances were only the beginning. It went all the way up the walls. The idea was never to accent. The idea was to commit. Floor to ceiling, corner to corner, sometimes 2 different patterns in the same room, because one was not enough. Oversized florals in burnt sienna and mustard yellow. Plaid in colors that had never appeared in any actual plaid garment. Geometric repeats that moved slightly if you looked at them too long. Hanging that wallpaper took a full weekend. The paste went everywhere. Someone always got it in their hair. And the smell, that specific combination of wallpaper paste and a freshly papered room, hit every corner of the house for days. Families stood back when it was done and looked at what they had made. It felt permanent. It felt like a decision. By 1983, half of it was being steamed off by the same families who had put it up. And if you think the wallpaper was a commitment, wait until you see what they did to the bathroom. It did not stop at the kitchen. That is the part nobody mentions. The same people who chose the avocado green refrigerator walked into a showroom around 1971 and did it again. But this time for the bathroom, the toilet, the sink, the bathtub. All of it in harvest gold, or avocado, or a pink so specific it had its own name in the Kohler catalog. These were not budget choices. Colored fixtures cost more than white ones. Families chose them deliberately, the way you choose something you expect to last. And it did last, long past the point anyone wanted it to. By 1985, you could not give a harvest gold toilet away. You spent 20 years trying to forget that bathroom. Funny how clearly you can still picture it. The fixtures stayed for 20 years. The furniture in the next room did not last quite as long. It was everywhere, and it weighted nothing. That was the appeal. Wicker furniture looked substantial and looked considered, but you could move it across the room with one hand. Wicker chairs appeared on porches first, then migrated inside in the early 70s and never quite left. Wicker headboards, wicker magazine racks, wicker laundry baskets displayed in the bedroom like decorative objects. The material was honest, woven plant fiber, no pretense, no veneer. And it made a sound when you sat down, A soft creak that was not quite wood and not quite plastic. Something in between that said, "This is a relaxed house. A house that is not trying too hard." When it vanished in the mid-80s, it went without ceremony. One day it was simply gone and nobody held a funeral for it. Wicker was light and honest. What came next was trying to be something else entirely. Someone decided sometime around 1972 that furniture should be slightly mysterious. Not transparent, not opaque, somewhere in between where you could almost see what was on the shelf, but not quite. Smoked glass coffee tables, smoked glass cabinet doors, smoked glass room dividers that separated the dining area from the living room without fully committing to a wall. The tint caught the light differently, depending on the time of day. In the morning, it looked bronze. In the evening, it looked almost black. Designers called it sophistication. Everyone else called it the coffee table. You put your feet on it when your parents were not looking, and the glass held your fingerprints for days. When it finally left, nobody replaced it with anything half as interesting. But of everything in that house, every surface, every shelf, every piece of furniture, nothing defined a 70s room quite like what was on the floor. You walked across it barefoot, and the floor pushed back. That was the whole point. Shag carpet came in shades that had never existed in nature: burnt orange, deep burgundy, and avocado green that matched nothing and everything at once. By 1973, American families were buying special rakes to groom their living room floors. Not vacuums, rakes. The carpet industry called it the pile revolution. Everyone else just called it the floor. The fibers were deep enough to lose things in: coins, earrings, the occasional small toy that was simply gone until the furniture moved. And the smell of a freshly laid shag carpet in a warm room was something your memory filed away before you had words for it. You have never been able to name it. You just knew you were home. Your grandchildren call it vintage. You called it the living room. The carpet was perfect. So perfect, in fact, that nobody was allowed to walk on it. The carpet was too good to walk on. That was the logic, stated plainly by millions of American homeowners who had just spent real money on wall-to-wall broadloom and were not about to let foot traffic ruin it. So they laid clear plastic runners over the top. Long strips of ribbed vinyl that ran from the front door down the hallway, protecting the thing they had bought to make the house feel warm by covering it with something that felt like nothing at all. You knew where the runner ended because your socks told you. The texture change was immediate: carpet to plastic, soft to hard, warm to cold. Guests walked the runner without being told to. It was understood. Nobody questioned the logic of buying something beautiful and then covering it up. That was just what you did. And while the floors were being protected, something else entirely was happening on the walls. Nobody defended them then, and nobody defends them now. That is actually what made them perfect. The velvet painting existed entirely outside of taste, not trying to be art, not trying to be furniture, not trying to be anything except exactly what it was: a dog playing poker on black velvet, a matador frozen mid-turn, Elvis in profile, slightly luminous, hung above the television in a house that had never been to a gallery. The velvet absorbed light differently than anything else on the wall. Colors were deeper, shadows were richer, and the whole image seemed to glow from somewhere behind the surface. You either grew up with one or you knew someone who did. They appeared at yard sales for $1 and sold immediately. Some things are too specific to a moment to ever really disappear. The walls had their moment, but the kitchen counter had been quietly holding its own the entire time. Nobody decided on the rooster. That is the strange part. It was not a deliberate choice, not something anyone saw in a magazine and said, "Yes, that is what this kitchen needs." The ceramic rooster simply appeared one day on the counter and stayed for 15 years. Sometimes it was a cluster of ceramic fruit instead: apples, pears, and grapes in shades slightly too saturated to look edible. Sometimes it was both, arranged near the window like a still life nobody had painted. It was not decor exactly. It was more like a habit, something your mother's mother had. So your mother had one, so it simply existed on the counter the way the sink existed in the kitchen. When it disappeared, nobody threw a going-away party. But walk into the right antique store today, and you will stop dead when you see one. You always recognize it. You just forgot you remembered it. The kitchen had its rooster. The bathroom had something nobody had thought through quite as carefully. Someone looked at a bathroom and decided the problem was the floor. Not the fixtures, not the tile, not the lighting, but the floor. And the solution, arrived at by what must have been a genuinely confident committee, was carpet. Wall to wall, fitted around the base of the toilet, tucked under the vanity, and occasionally climbing partway up the side of the tub. It came in the same colors as everything else: avocado, gold, and a pink that matched nothing. Soft underfoot in a way bathroom floors had never been before and have never been since. Nobody thought about moisture. Nobody thought about what carpet does when it stays wet. They thought about how it felt on a cold morning. That was enough. That was the whole calculation. And if carpet in the bathroom sounds like enough, just wait until you hear what they did to the kitchen floor. The living room had shag. The bathroom had pile. So naturally, someone looked at the kitchen and decided it too deserved carpet. Not the deep soft kind, but something tighter, flatter, a low pile indoor and outdoor weave in harvest gold or brown that could theoretically be hosed down if necessary. It went over linoleum, sometimes directly over the original hardwood underneath. Layer upon layer of flooring decisions stacked like a geological record of the decade. The carpet was warm, the carpet was comfortable, and the carpet meant you had made an effort. That it also meant cleaning scrambled eggs and orange juice out of carpet fibers every morning was a problem to be solved later. Later never quite came. When the kitchen carpet finally disappeared, it had to be cut out in sections, pulled up in strips, and taken away in bags. Underneath, perfectly preserved, was the original floor, waiting. Just like every other thing from that decade that turned out to be worth keeping after all. Some of it you remember with embarrassment. Some of it you remember with something closer to love. Most of it you remember without knowing why. Just a room, just a color, just a sound the floor made under your feet. That is the thing about the house you grew up in. It does not ask permission to stay with you. Tell us in the comments which one sent you back. And if there is something we missed, something sitting in your memory right now that nobody ever talks about anymore, we want to know.